Good evening. The senior class would like to welcome the 2023 mayor and school board member candidates and community members to the forum for the election to be held on November 7, 2023. In the weeks leading up to this event, the seniors have drafted questions for the candidates to answer in front of the community. The candidates were given the questions in advance, and there will be a time limit on their responses. We ask the members of the audience to refrain from cheering or excessive applause. Our goal is to allow each of the candidates an equal opportunity to promote their message. We will start with the mayor portion of this forum. After the senior class's questions have been answered, the community will be given a chance to also ask questions. The moderators for the mayor forum will be Sarah Whitney and Cadence Gerwood. Can you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everyone was famous.
We would like to thank the mayor candidates, Quentin Myers and Brett Greenwood, for agreeing to attend our forum. Gentlemen, we have prepared 6 questions for the two of you to answer. You will each be given 1 minute to answer each question. At the end of that minute, your microphone will be turned off. We will rotate who gets to answer the question first. After you have answered the seniors' questions, the community will be given a chance to also ask the two of you questions. Quentin, what makes you the best fit for mayor of Plainville?
Okay. So first and foremost, if you're unfamiliar with who I am, I consider myself a servant more than a politician. I've invested myself in this community for the past 11 years, if not more. My wife has invested herself in this community. Our families invested ourselves in this community. Our kids are in these schools. Our daughter graduated from this school. So I do love and care about the city of Plainville and the people of Plainville. I'm interested. I want to know what people need. I want to know what people want. I care about the employees of the city of Plainville, Plainville Fire Department, Plainville Police Department, city Plainville employees in the office, and our city street crew. I do believe that we are called to serve, and I believe I'm filling that role. I hope that everybody in Plainville agrees with that. I put 6 years in as mayor at the end of this term, and 7 years before that as a council member. So I have 13 years together serving the people of Plainville, and I enjoy it. At the end of the day, it really comes down to the people and the vote as to who they decide is going to be the best fit for the city of Plainville, and I look forward to that. So I do appreciate this. Thank you.
Brett, what makes you the best fit for mayor of Plainville?
Thank you. How about I do this one without the mic? Can you hear me in the back? Paul?
You're good.
All right.
You can do it with the mic, you're good.
I'm on now? I am on now. Very good. Thank you. What makes me the best fit is that I'm different. People talk about having term limits on Congress, and yet they continue to elect the same officials at the local level. I want to see Plainville grow, and that growth requires change. And I believe that change should come from the community at large to the greatest extent possible. I am also relatable and can relate to a wide range of cultures. I have a lot of experience, everything from world travel to emergency management. And I too am committed to service. I serve at my church. I serve and have served on several boards and committees. My first job in Plainville was to serve as shortstop so that I could know as many people as possible in town. I saw a need for bicycle repair in the community and opened a bike shop. I saw a need for accessible trails and started a trail building association. I've been serving Plainville since I arrived in 2014.
Brett, do you have any ideas on how to bring more businesses to town?
Thank you for that question. I do. Let's agree that businesses need a reason to relocate someplace. We need to provide the incentives that businesses want so they will choose Plainville or another town. For example, available zone space, commercial, industrial, residential, that's one. Tax incentives are another. And a capable and willing workforce is a third, and that requires available housing. There are other incentives which we already have: hospital, good schools, the highways. But all of these things are approached in a piecemeal fashion. Instead, what if we presented business with a coordinated vision for community-wide growth, with real milestones that a new business can achieve with us, and then we promote that vision strongly?
Quentin, do you have any ideas on how to bring more business to town?
I'm of the understanding that I believe that public and private need to stay separate. I do agree that from a city standpoint, we can do our best to help with incentives and programs that come our way that we can offer to the private industry. But I do believe that big government destroys small business. I think we can look across our economy and see that many different variables. The city of Plainville has been involved in many opportunities for small businesses in this town to help them get what they need to get started up, and we'll continue to do that. And I look forward to doing that. We've been working extremely hard on cleaning up the aesthetics of this town and working with the citizens of this town to help get the aesthetics cleaned up. We also have projects going on to bring public signing into town, so when you're living in Plainville. So like Brett said, it does have a lot to do with the visuals as you come into town and making it more popular and more beautiful, that businesses would want to be here.
Quinn, what are the biggest challenges you see Plainville facing in the future?
I believe the future and present, they mirror one another. Obviously, like I mentioned, the economy is a big problem. I think we have a good hold on things as we're doing right now with our council and our city as a whole. We need to recognize that as a community, we need to patronize our local businesses the best we can. Keep our money here local. The schools are growing. That's a good thing. We need to recognize that, support our schools, to stay involved in our schools. And we have a great group of employees at the city, with the fire department, with the police department, our city officials in the offices, and with our water department. So keeping all those things together and helping recognize the needs of the town and applying our efforts into those places, I think we can overcome the challenges because they're always going to be there.
And Brett, what are the biggest challenges you see Plainville facing in the future?
Quentin did a great job of highlighting what's currently being worked on, and I agree that those are all good efforts to be made. However, the number one challenge I see us facing in the future is water. Not just the quality of our water, but the quantity. Our aquifer is drying up, and today, we're not struggling much around here, not so much as other parts of Kansas and our region. But if things don't change, we will be struggling. We need to start now looking for industry that uses as little water as possible. We need to encourage farming practices that maximize yield and minimize hydration. And as citizens, we need to begin now to adopt habits that reduce wasting water.
Brett, do you feel as though anything in our town has been neglected and is in need of improvement?
Thank you. I feel there are several things in need of improvement, some of which have been neglected. Our housing capacity is one. Modernization of our retail and office space is another. And attraction of new industry is third. Some of these items suffer from a lack of timely data, such as the LMI or the housing assessment tool. I could list other things, but I believe these gaps in concern are the result of a lack of community-based planning and overall vision for the future of Plainville. Without knowing where you're going, it's hard to know what you need to do to get there. And you'll end up fighting fires, the crisis of the moment, while you kind of wander along. And I feel like that's where Plainville is currently.
Quentin, do you feel as though anything in our town has been neglected and is in need of improvement?
Thank you. I absolutely do. Obviously, our streets and water infrastructure has been problematic for years. The biggest issue with that is always going to be financing. In rural communities, you only have so much to work with, and you don't want to put yourself in a position where you're unable to financially afford those types of things. Luckily, this council and myself, we have spent the greater part of the last 40 years working on the water project through the engineering research, the industry studies. We've been able to discover that the biggest problem with our water in this town comes in our pipes. Those are tangible things that we can work on, so that's where we're setting our sights on to get the pipes in this town taken care of. The project has begun, working on the financing, and the infrastructure pieces will come after that. So we're focusing on the real issues.
Quinn, what do you think the solution is to the housing and rental shortage here in Plainville?
Oddly enough, I think it's a good thing. The fact that we have a housing and rental shortage in town tells me that there's people wanting to come to Plainville. Again, I'm a small government guy. I don't like the thought of getting involved in private industry. But again, from a mayor's standpoint, we'll do anything we can to help any individual out to make that an easier process for them. We have been involved in projects, with the MIH and the LMI programs, to help contractors come to town, to do work, to build new homes. But the reality of the matter is our economy's tough right now. People are struggling. Taxes are up, inflation's up, incomes don't grow as much as you want them to in smaller rural communities. So a lot of people, you can't expect them to be risky with their dollar, with their money, their hard-earned money. But I do believe that we're making the right moves. I think we'll continue to make the right moves. And I do look forward to the future of Plainville.
And Red, what do you think the solution is to the housing and rental shortage here in Plainville?
I think it's apartments, and referring to boarding houses. Let's face it, not everyone is cut out to be a homeowner, and the time, the expenses that ownership entails. For many people, the American dream right now is just keeping the children fed, and that's right here in our community. There are times when home ownership is more economical than renting, and there are times when either is a great option. Right now, we don't have a lot of any options. We need to attract developers to build single and multifamily dwellings, consistent with a coordinated community vision for Plainville's future.
Brett, if you received a $1 million grant to use for the city in any way you wanted, what would you do with it and why?
Thank you. I built trails. No, seriously. The first thing that came to mind when I heard this question was finding tax credits and incentives to help spur all kinds of development and new business. Again, consistent with the 25-year vision for Plainville. For those of you that are not familiar with the idea, let's say that a new industry wants to move here. They're going to need to build their factory, buy their initial inventory, and basically sink a lot of money before they even start producing product. If the city had a block of tax credit, we could agree to cover their taxes for the first, say, 10 years, giving them time to get up and running and pay back those initial costs.
Quinton, if you received a $1 million grant to use for the city in any way you wanted, what would you do with it and why?
I come across a little practical matter, more practical matter, the fact that I deal with the reality of the current situation that the city of Plainville and citizens of Plainville need. Like I mentioned earlier, our water infrastructure and our streets have been neglected for a long time. $1 million is just the beginning, but I would be irresponsible if I didn't use that money to apply to those places. I do understand the need for jobs in Plainville and incentive programs and those types of things, but in rural communities, one thing that I discover when I do talk with business owners across the state in my position is that we really have a staffing issue. We just simply don't have the people in the rural communities to staff some of these bigger organizations, these bigger industries. So we've got to focus on what we have, and we have bad streets, bad water. So that's why we put $1 million.
If members of the community would like to ask the mayor candidates any questions, please raise your hand and a microphone will be brought to you.
Who's first?
First of all, thank you guys, obviously, for coming and doing this. Obviously, in the most recent census, the thing we've seen in rural communities is that generally across the United States, and specifically in Kansas, there's been population decline across those. So my question would be, what do you think is what is one thing that in the position of mayor you can effectively do to help prevent Plainville from having that same fate or curb that?
Did you target that to either one of us or both?
Both. Whoever wants to go first.
Mic on?
Okay. So Nathan asked about the shrinking population of rural communities, am I right? And what he thought mayor's responsibility would be in that. I'm not sure there's a perfect answer for that, honestly. I do agree. One thing that, if anybody's paying attention to our community, we have an aging community. There's a gigantic age gap. So you're dealing with folks who are retiring and they're living their best life, and then you're trying to incentivize bringing in younger folks. You know, I actually think a big part of that is our schools. I really do. If you've noticed, because of our schools, we've been bringing in a lot of kids from outside of our zip code. I think one of the greatest things we can do as a rural community, getting rid of the zip codes. If the state is ever going to do anything great in rural America, you have to eliminate the rules that they have on these students and these parents to allow their kids to explore into other rural communities.
That was a great answer, and I agree with what has been said. I think where we might differ on that is while Plainville is doing some great things now to draw people into the community, it's not enough to just rest on our laurels. I think we need to be more aggressive and progressive, is probably a better term, for creating the kind of community that's going to draw even greater numbers in. We're looking at the fact that the population continues to expand worldwide. That's here in the United States, that's here in Kansas, that's here in Hays. We're going to see people coming in. What can we do to prepare for that? I think there are a number of things that we have on the city level to help ease the adjustments. I do agree with Quentin on separation between government and private business. I think that's important. However, I think the government can often put a lot of stumbling blocks in the way of private business. So the things we can do to alleviate that, to allow housing to be brought in, to allow continued improvements on the other areas, like social light. I think that's where the mayor's office and the council should invest that effort.
Is Miranda really a citizen?
Describe an ethical dilemma you faced and how have you resolved it?
I couldn't hear you.
Sorry, let me, can you hear me?
There you go.
Describe an ethical dilemma you faced and how did you resolve it? Both of you can answer that.
Who's on first? Describe an ethical dilemma you faced.
That was Steve.
Is that a good question?
That's Steve.
Mom? Okay. I'm going to be completely transparent. During the pandemic, I really struggled from a leadership standpoint with following the rules and regulations that were being laid out from the federal and the state levels. Like I said, I'm a small government guy. I don't like government to be involved in too many things, private industry and private lives, most importantly. Telling somebody what they need to do from their household standpoint as they walk out of my community, I didn't like that at all. So the ethical side of that was I wanted to remove myself from it and remove the city of Plainville from it. So we made the decision to allow people to live, to do what they wanted to shut their TVs off and go outside and see if you felt like your life was any different than it was the day before. And I think we did the right thing. You know, at the end of the day, we removed ourselves from a civic standpoint, allowed you all to do what you wanted. So.
Thanks, Quentin. That's a great answer. I'm sitting here trying to come up with an ethical dilemma. I'm sure I haven't, but I tend not to dwell on those kinds of stressors, and I don't have anything fresh in mind. Just looking back on times where I may have had one, generally it's a question of thorough evaluation, as Quentin was just describing, deciding where the merits are. I think there's a cause for what's best for the people, the good of the people, versus the individual. Beyond that, I just can't fetch a scenario that comes to mind that I can give more detail on. I apologize for that.
Could you tell me your thoughts on long-term care in our community, and what are we going to do about it?
You know what, okay. What we're going to do about it is going to be a very complex answer. There's a lot of moving parts, a lot of factors that have to come together to make long-term care successful in Plainville. And I don't want that to sound like an end run. The point is it is very complicated. What I think we'd like to see happen is for it to continue to be a success and to grow. Being a veteran community is one of the ways that Plainville can focus as a community for its future development. A veteran community for both actively working people and then for retirees and those continuing into their aging. I think as a city we need to again remove the roadblocks as much as possible and then not just work on conditions for the aging population in Plainville, but look at that in a broad picture, incorporating all the citizens, again, through a long-term vision for Plainville's growth.
Okay. So I'm just going to cut to the chase. We obviously have all heard about the nursing home projects and the plans for the nursing home. The roadblocks are the county. Go back to knocking down the zip codes, working across city limits. We've been working feverishly. We've got a group of people that have come in from outside of our community who have poured their hearts into this community to try to help us resolve the issues of our failing nursing home. And all praise be to God that we've gotten to this point, but we still have an issue with an aging nursing home that is falling in on itself. And we need to get everybody to put pressure on the county to move on the transfer of the deed. That is literally what's holding up this entire process. We had plans to transfer this thing at the beginning of 2023. We're sitting here in October, nothing's been done. So you got 3 county members. One of them
Was in this community? I was going on. John Reuter is on fire for this, just so you all know. So he needs all the support he can get to get this thing done, okay?
Quentin,
Yes.
who is to receive the deed?
The what?
Who is to receive the deed?
Am I there? Okay, yeah, so that is kind of still up in the air, but it's either going to be the city or the 501c3, depending on how we can get it transferred. So that's what the attorneys are supposed to be working on, because the transfer of a deed from 2 different public entities is tough. And they're trying not to put it out there for anybody to buy, because rumor has it, there aren't rumors, is there's businesses and industries within this country that like to come in and swipe that up, basically drain it of all of its funding and close it, and then sell it for pennies on the dollar. So we're trying to do what's best to get that deed transferred legally, to allow those to be transferred to a place where we could utilize the funds and begin the project. So it would initially come to the city.
Okay, so I understand
Yes.
that the city is possibly looking at it to receive the deed, which would mean the city would own the nursing home. Now, am I wrong?
Well, can you just leave my mic on?
So the initial transfer is about legalities. You got to find out a possible way to make it a legal transfer so that there's not any repercussions to the backside, right? So if the city were to acquire the transfer of the deed, then we can then give it to the 501c3. the city, as an organization, would not hold ownership of the nursing home when it's all said and done. The 501c3 is a sufficient organization to do that, and a very popular way of doing it. It's done that way all across the state. So, and one thing that people should know, these nursing homes are closing down left and right across the state. So the fact that we've been able to, with this action pack group, keep that facility open to this point with all the generous donations, it has been amazing. It really has. But at the end of the day, you still need to get a new facility because that one is not getting any better.
So my understanding is if someone comes in and would like to have a private nursing home,
Yes.
a successful private nursing home, that's not on the table, so yeah.
That has not been presented to us at this point.
But if it is.
I don't hold the deed.
Linda, I can talk to you about that afterwards.
Hello.
Hey, neighbor.
I wanted to talk a little bit about the low to moderate income study. It's been, I think, at least 10 years since the city of Plainville has completed one. What the low to moderate income study does is basically corrects our census numbers. And those are really important for a variety of reasons, including qualifying for federal funding. There was a pilot program that just went through accepting applications, and it's trying to fix what's called the average employment gap in rural communities. This would have qualified us for about $2.5 million. Stockton qualifies because they have their LMI done. But other places throughout the state of Kansas have not completed their LMIs, and they haven't done it for some time. We miss out on opportunities from the federal government when we don't do that survey. So what would each of you do to complete that survey, or do you see reasons why missing out on an opportunity like the Recompete Act wouldn't actually benefit us, or if there's too much labor involved in completing the LMI versus what we get in exchange over a period of time, or really what's going on there, and why has the city not done that over such a long period?
Brad, would you like to take that one first?
I can try. I don't know the details of why it may or may not have been completed at this point, because that would be something specific to the existing council and the mayor role and that current mayor role. One of the things that was mentioned earlier was the separation between government and private, the private line. So what I do see is that the citizens are the government, and while one of us may hold this office after the election, the key is we not only work for you, but you're the reason we're there. You're the government. And so when we're looking when we're shorthanded for staff getting out and doing some of these things, I know there are lots of people in the community who want to be involved and would like to be asked, would just like to be given the opportunity to step up and to do something to help serve the community in whatever capacity they can. And then again, that's why I'm coming back to looking at a community approach to Vision for Plainville, because you all have great ideas as well as what I may have or when may have, and even the council has. Let's get everyone involved. Let's get everyone working to bring about positive change in Plainville.
Okay. Mark, we've had this discussion before. You brought this question up to me. You brought it up to council in open session. I've referred you to Jim a couple different times. I know from a council standpoint and the mayor's standpoint, it's simply been oversight. It's not been a priority of ours for no reasons other than we were working on other projects. I do understand this importance of it. I do understand that there are options out there when we do have it. I do know that we are working on that now. We did miss an opportunity recently with having the help that you're talking about. That was for no reason other than just timing. So, I mean, I can appreciate you bringing this up, but at the end of the day, like I stated earlier, our biggest focus is working on the tangible, realistic problems that Plainville is currently under. Money always helps, But generally with federal funding comes federal change, you know. So from a council standpoint, my council's done a great job in making sure they make the decisions that are best for the community as a whole. And from that, you know, I would encourage you to continue to stay involved. Like Brett just mentioned, you know, it does help to have citizens who have this information because I don't know at all anything. I rely on the experts that work for the city, and I've got some good ones, and I trust them. And that's how we'll continue to do things. So I do appreciate that.
AJ.
AJ.
Everybody hear me? Okay, my wife and I moved here about a year ago when we decided to retire. And I gotta tell you, a couple of things we really found fantastic about Plainville. We moved from Florida to back to the Midwest. It's wonderful to see the whole town really get behind everything that the school does and all the kids do. That's really, really important because youth is the future. And last week when I couldn't sleep one night, which is typical for me, I went and read all of the minutes up to last May that was done by the city council, and I went through the budget. And what I came up with now, I spent 10 years in nonprofit, running a nonprofit, and 20 years in private enterprise before that. But what I saw was nothing solid for any kind of future plans for Plainville. I saw there was, I think, a $4,000 budget for tourism was, I think, one thing I thought that was just sort of a gratuitous thrown out there. But Plainville has a lot of things to offer. What I'm not hearing are any specifics, and I'm not complaining because, you know, I'm new to the city, obviously, but what specific things can we do to help the community, help the people here, enrich the lives? I understand the issues with the water, I understand utility, I understand housing, I understand all those things. But what specific things can be done while you're in the next term of mayor that you can actually start and maybe accomplish?
Okay. Welcome. That's pretty cool. Coming all the way from Florida, I do appreciate that. I can't say that we haven't been working on things. I'm not sure the tourism budget, that's minor in our budget. But this project, but I know you don't understand the complexity and severity of this water project, but it's massive for a small community. We're talking $12 million. And part of doing this project was trying to keep our taxes and mill levies down so we didn't have to tax the people of Plainville who are already taxed from the state and federal level at such high levels that we didn't want to do that to them. So a lot of this work that we've been doing has been trying to find adequate funding to pay for this project. So it is a massive deal for Plainville. It's where we've been focusing a lot of our time from a council standpoint. Not to mention dealing with the police department, trying to keep their equipment up to date, the fire department trying to keep their equipment up to date, the city and street guys trying to keep their equipment up to date, and then of course the office people putting in new software and those kinds of things for billing. We do a lot for the city of Plainville, but again, I'll go back to what I said before. I don't want to be involved in your private business. If you want to bring something to us and say, hey, here's my idea, what can the city do to help me, or what can you do to remove yourself, we'll be the first ones to look into it. But I think the reason Plainville's been so great for so long is because of the citizens of this town, not because of the city.
And my response would be, I want you on committee. I want several of the others of you for whom that question resonated on committee. I want to hear your thoughts. When you're saying I'm not seeing this, it means you've probably seen other things that are out there. Not just that you're not seeing it, but you've got an idea and you're saying, I've seen this in other towns. Why isn't this in the minutes here? I want to know what those ideas are. I would like to sit down and develop a vision for Plainville in 25 years. Are we going to be bigger? Are we going to be the same size? What kind of streets will we have? Can we go back to brick? Probably not. Maybe that's not what the public wants. What do you want? What is your vision for Plainville 25 years from now? And then work our way backwards. What are these things for you that you're thinking you're missing? Let's visualize that. Let's put that in the plan. The city shouldn't be interfering with private business. However, private business also needs to know what the city is going to be doing. And I don't mean the city government, I mean the city. Is this a good match for certain businesses? Certain businesses should avoid Plainville for certain reasons. Right now, we're just fighting fires as we go. And it's important to fight fires as you go, or they get out of control and take things down. But can we set aside some time, set aside some energy to look ahead, look way ahead, develop a vision for that, and work our way backwards so we know where we're going with it? That's what I'm going to do.
I just wanted to follow up on what this gentleman said. My cousin in Holdridge got over the Kansas Travel magazine that the state puts out, and they're in the Hayes Convention Visitor Center, but it was in one of their convenience stores. She looked up Plainville. What they had was near Webster Lake. We have a very nice fruit festival. It should have been in there. I don't know why it would cost to put it in that magazine. But the state does it. It goes all around the state to neighboring states.
Do you have a question, Gary, or was that just a comment?
Well, how about doing that? You know, something like that. You've got $4,000, you know.
Yeah, we can look into it. I don't know anything about it though.
I was going to say, generally, I think what you're just saying is marketing. Thank you. Is you're looking for the city's not being well marketed. There are things that are going on here that are not being shared with this corner of Kansas, with the state, with this region, and the Midwest. And I think we can do something about that. I don't think it takes a lot of additional hours. And more importantly, I don't know that the city government is the one that has to do that. I think we can look for volunteers to help do that. As long as we've got a process in place that everyone agrees on, this is good, and the things we want to market. And that's the goal I'd like to work towards.
Well, this county does have an economic development director that could do that.
That's my motion.
I think that there's many publications out there. I know that we are in some. So I'm not sure exactly, I didn't hear exactly what you were referring to. But like I said, it's something that we can look into because I'm not just going to speak out of hand like I know what I'm talking about. But yeah, no. Yeah, marketing for the city of Plainville is a huge thing. But again, like Brett said, what are we marketing towards? You know, what do we have to offer? And I think that's what's important, to make sure that we put out there the proper information so that we attract the right types of people. Because we don't just open our doors to whoever, whenever, whatever, for whatever reason, right? Because we do have to recognize the type of world that we live in, and we have to recognize the type of citizens that want to be in Plainville, the type of citizens that have invested in Plainville, you know. So there are certain things I would think we would have to take care of first before we just started allowing people to publish whatever they wanted to. So I would hope that if the citizens were doing it, or the city of Plainville were doing it, they were doing it right for marketing reasons.
That's going to be our last question for the mayor candidates. We would like to ask for a couple of minutes to